WGN political analyst Paul Lisnek is joining us now to talk more about the senator's actions. So, Paul, this was a procedural vote, and Senate Majority Leader has said he is going to come back. Chuck Schumer is going to come back with another vote on a bipartisan bill. But what are the chances that it'll pass?
So, Tanya and Ray, look, the chances of this thing getting through are really small. They did get 6 Republicans today, but they needed 10. Pat Toomey was not there. There were about 10 senators not there, which is an issue unto itself, not being there for an important vote like this. He said he would have voted for it, but I just don't see how they get to the 10. Here is the political calculation. The reason Republicans don't want to see the commission is because it's going to air a lot of laundry that won't be pleasant and make the 2022 midterms probably a difficult process for at least some of them. The problem in this calculation is that Nancy Pelosi, I absolutely expect, will either assign to various committees in the House or create a special committee in the House to investigate this. Only now she doesn't need to involve Republicans. This first bill involved equal numbers of Republicans, equal subpoena power. Everything was bipartisan about it, even though Republicans said it wasn't, but it was. Nancy Pelosi now can go partisan. However, if I were advising her, and she didn't ask me anything, but if I were to advise her, I'd say, you know what, put some Republicans on that commission, an Adam Kinzinger, a Liz Cheney, people like that, because that would downplay the issue that it's a partisan endeavor. But that's what you'll see happen. The Senate can also have some committees look at it as well.
Well, those are two big GOP outliers. Paul, do you think that that would have much sway in getting to the bottom of what actually happened in this bipartisan way, which is something the Biden White House so desperately wants to achieve?
Well, Ray, you're right that they're outliers in terms of we already know that they believe that, something was wrong on January 6th. But certainly Nancy Pelosi is not about to appoint anybody who, believes that it was a tourist day at the Capitol. So she wouldn't put any of them on this special committee. And that being said, though, even by putting some Republicans, if only with the bend of agreeing with Democrats on this one issue, because believe me, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger don't agree with Democrats on pretty much anything except this. It does allow her to say this is a bipartisan effort. That's the angle it gives her. Otherwise, she will face constant criticism as 2022 comes along. By the way, the rule, one of the rules that Senator Susan Collins had required, and they agreed to it, would be that the commission, the bipartisan commission, would finish its work by the end of this year. And now, because that didn't pass, there's nothing that stops the Democrats or Pelosi's committee from going well into the midterm elections with this. And I expect they will.
What about the filibuster? Does this mean that we could start seeing the end of the filibuster? There's been some talk about doing away with it, because if there wasn't a filibuster, it would have just taken a 51 vote to pass.
Well, the problem with the filibuster, Tanya, is that Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema, she's from Arizona, he from West Virginia, don't agree with getting rid of it. And even today, because they thought that maybe Joe Manchin, once he saw that Republicans didn't even support a bipartisan commission to look at January 6th, that might change his mind. But he did say today in a statement, essentially, this is really unfortunate that only 6 Republicans had a state of conscience to allow them to do it. But no, he just believes that dumping the filibuster is sort of destroying the congressional process as we know it. So now, if Republicans don't get on board with infrastructure or a host of other votes that are coming up, Chuck Schumer, before he ended session today, met with the press and gave a whole list of things he plans to do in June. Who knows? Maybe Joe Manchin would change his mind. But without Joe Manchin, you can't get rid of the filibuster.
In the waning seconds here, Paul, let's talk about what's happening in Springfield here. We're nearing the end of the legislative session. Redistricting is the big issue. What do you expect to see?
Well, they're going to have to come up with, they do have maps. They tweaked them the other night because there's been a lot of gripes from Republicans. And now the Democrats are saying, hey, look, these maps look just like the old ones almost, but there's a lot of flack about the way they look. They still haven't done congressional maps. It's the first time they've remapped the Supreme Court district since like 1964. So clearly the Democrats are attempting to solidify their power, even though they don't say that they are. But in addition to that, Ray and Tanya, it's not just the maps. They've got the budget to deal with. They've got ethics to deal with, concealed carry issues to deal with, energy to deal with, all by Monday. Good luck to them.
All right. Paul Lisnek, thank you for your insight. Paul Lisnek, host of the Political Report here on WGN and WGN's political analyst. Thanks. Have a great weekend.